This is Kambaba Jasper, or Kambaba Jasper, or Crocodile Jasper, or a multitude of other names because honestly, no one is absolutely positive exactly what it is or even where it's from. Today we're going to uncover exactly what this stone actually is while we transform it into the largest die we've cut so far. First things first, we need to get this hefty piece mounted securely on a dock. As always, we'll be using our trusty Loctite 5-minute epoxy resin for this. With a stone this size, a strong bond is absolutely crucial. While that cures up, let's talk a little bit about what we think we know about Kambaba Jasper. This strange stone is sold under a few different names. You'll see Kambaba Jasper, Crocodile Jasper because of the eyelike patterns, and sometimes just Kambaba stone. I figured that it must be from some place called Kambaba, but that place just simply doesn't exist. When I started researching this material, I was genuinely surprised about how little solid information there is out there. What I did see a lot is that it's often sold as fossilized stromatolites, basically ancient algae turned to stone. Turns out that's not even close to being true. I started by looking at Mindat, which is an incredible resource for researching different stones, but even their information was very sparse. However, in 2007, the EPI Institute of Germany performed an X-ray diffraction test on a thin section of the stone, and the results pointed to quartz, pyroxene, albite, and feldspar with round aggregates of amphiboles. These results heavily insist volcanic rhyolite rather than jasper or stromatolites. I found a 2017 forum post on Mindat from user Stone Mania where they mentioned being told that Kambaba Jasper comes from Madagascar in an area close to the city Syro-Anamindidi in the Bangalava region. They said they spoke at the Madagascan tourist office, but they said they know nothing at all about an area called Kambaba, though they were familiar with the stone. Further research pointed me towards a French prospecting study of the region from the 1950s called Études géologiques et prospection de l'Ambohibi et du Bavado, or Geological Study and Prospection of Ambohibi and Bavado by L. Laplaine. Ambohibi and Bavado are two large volcanic intrusions about 20 kilometers east of Syro-Anamindidi, and when we overlay the hand-drawn geological maps from the 1950s prospecting study with more modern satellite imagery, we can see a remarkable overlap with what we know about Kambaba Jasper. Look at this specific zone marked microgranite with spherolites in the Ambohibi Massif. This is exactly what the German EPI Institute analysis describes. They found circularly distributed black aggregates of tiny amphibole needles in a green ground mass, which is a perfect match for what Laplaine calls spherolytic microgranite. The French paper even describes how these spherolytic textures form when fine needles of aegirine radiate into spherolites. So we have a 70-year-old geological survey that precisely describes the formations, mineral composition, and spherolytic textures that define Kambaba Jasper, all in exactly the location where it's supposedly mined. So, while it's not an ancient algae, it is an ancient volcanic rock with a Mohs hardness of around 7, making it a very durable stone that will take a great polish. So, with our resin all cured, let's outline the plan. Given this stone size, we're going to go with a standard D20 cut. No complex stars or bevels this time, as the sheer scale of the facets will be difficult enough. Our grit progression will be straightforward, but demanding. We're going to start with our 120 grit diamond topper lap to roughen the initial shape and remove the bulk of the material. Then we'll move to a 240 grit lap to refine the faces and remove the deeper scratches from the 120. After that, it's on to our 600 grit lap to bring all of the faces to their final location. For pre-polishing, we'll use a 3000 grit diamond lap, and then the final polish will be done on our cerium oxide lightning lap. The main challenge with this piece is definitely going to be its size. Cutting facets this large takes significantly more time, especially as we move into the finer grits like the 600 and beyond. The stone itself is very competent. It's hard and will take a polish well, but even with no major setbacks like cracking or chipping, this one will still likely be a very time-consuming process. So let's get started. We're making really good progress on the 120, just establishing those first facets. It's really interesting to see the spherolites change with the depth of each cut. Each time I look at the stone, the patterns have completely changed. Okay, the 120 grit has done its job and the bulk of the material has been removed, so now it's a good time for a quick cleanup. Working with any stone generates dust, but with a piece this large, there's even more. I wear a full respirator through the entire course of the cutting process, as well as run my HEPA 14 filter. But keeping the machine and workspace clean between grits prevents contamination of any of our finer laps and most importantly, protects our health. These few extra minutes of cleaning can save hours of frustration later if a stray coarse particle gets into one of our polishing laps. After cleaning up, we'll move on to our 240 grit to smooth things out and get closer to our final location. Our 240 grit is done, and while slow, we're making good progress. Now we're moving on to the 600 grit. Unfortunately, this is where things are going to start slowing down considerably. We'll still be removing material, but with facets this large, we have much more surface area to cut, meaning each pass will take significantly longer. Now that all the facets are cut in with the 600 grit, we're almost ready to move on to the pre-polishing with the 3000 grit. However, before we do that, we're going to make some relief cuts first. When working with such large facets, we don't want to waste time pre-polishing and polishing areas that won't be part of the final stone. These bottom facets are particularly large, so we're going to remove all of the material we don't need. By cutting in some relief cuts, we can remove these large bottom sections, meaning we only have to pre-polish and polish the actual final face. We're going to go back to our 120 grit for these cuts so we can chop through the stone as quickly as possible. And here's what those relief cuts look like. You can see just how much it has reduced the size of the face. Now we can move on to pre-polishing. This stage will smooth the surface even further and prepare it for that super nice final polish. Our pre-polish is finished up, and you can already see that shine and reflection coming through at sharp angles. Now we'll be moving on to our cerium oxide lightning lab for final polish. We'll also be adding our own cerium oxide slurry to the lab. This helps speed up the polishing process as well as extend the life of our lightning lab. It's at this stage that we encounter one of the significant challenges of working with such large stones: facet dishing. This face here is just off of the 3000 grit, and I wanted to show you the difference between it and a fully polished face. This is the face that we're currently working on, and you can see that the edges of the facet are polishing, but the center remains dull. This is the result of what we call dishing. This is common with very large facets, as the pressure applied through the stone onto the lap combined with tiny, almost imperceptible flexes in the faceting machine itself, resulting in the edges of a large facet getting more contact and therefore polishing faster than the center. This is never really a problem with smaller facets, but on larger ones like this, it's much more pronounced. So how do we overcome this? Well, the solution is to cheat. When we set our index on the large index wheel, we're limited to what rotation we can use. However, we can use the index vernier or cheater wheel to get fractional rotation. This allows us to polish at rotations like 40.1 or 40.2 or back to 39.9 or 39.8, etc. We'll then combine this partial rotation with very small adjustments to the height of the stone. Imagine this is our face. When we cut straight on like normal, these outside edges end up polishing before the center does, leaving us with a dished facet. The way to fix this is we move slightly above the lap and we set our cheater to one side. Then we start polishing. Then we make a small adjustment to the cheater, polish, adjust the cheater, polish, adjust, polish, etc. until we reach the other side of our range. Then we move our height down slightly and we work all the way back through each of the rotations on the cheater again. This polishes rows across the facet, one after another. When we reach the bottom, we start back up at the top and we run through the process again. I shoot for about 3 passes and then spot polish as needed. Here's the first side fully polished and it's turning out beautifully. It took about 90 minutes of polish for each face, but the results speak for themselves. The Kambaba Jasper is really showing off its beautiful unique pattern and depth. The eyes almost seem to follow you as the light plays across them. Now it's time to transfer the dop to the other side. We'll be using our transfer jig and some more epoxy resin for this, and then we'll repeat the entire cutting and polishing process for the second half. From there, we'll cut out some numbering masks on our CNC machine, sandblast the numbers in, paint them, and we'll be all finished up. If you're enjoying watching this unique stone transform into a D20 and maybe learned a thing or two, please take a second to click the like and subscribe buttons below. It really does help the channel grow and it allows me to keep bringing you more content like this. If you're looking for more ways to help support the channel, consider checking out my Patreon. You'll get exclusive early access to ad-free videos, see behind-the-scenes looks at what I'm currently working on, have a say in future video topics and stones, join in monthly Q&As, and even get your hands on exclusive monthly discounts and full ttrpg character supplements based on the stories and dice we create here. Your support there will make a huge difference to help me dedicate more time to creating dice and videos like this. Now, back to the video. When I look at this die, I imagine Zelen as he presses his palm against the immense ancient vault door, its surface a disturbing tapestry of countless unblinking eyes carved into the dark stone. His own eyes, unsettling pools of black surrounding vibrant green irises, sweep the glyphs at the center of each carved eye, which now pulses with an insistent purple light. The air in the cavernous rotunda thrums with a volatile energy as the vault door's ancient mechanisms shriek and groan. Purple light from its glyphs paint wild, dancing shadows on the towering walls. Amidst this cacophony, a familiar deep hum at the chamber's heart seems to falter. Zelen feels a sickening lurch, not in the stone beneath his feet, but deep within his own senses, compelling his gaze towards it. The eye, a colossal sphere of deeply black stone shot through with swirling veins of mossy green, floats in its cradle. Even as he watches, a cluster of its many dark peering circles flicker and extinguish, their inner light vanishing like distant stars dying in a cold void. Each closure is a fresh wound, a visceral tearing at the fabric of history, another voice silenced, another lifetime of wisdom and wonder erased. The rate is accelerating. What began as a trickle of loss now threatens to become a flood. This is why Zelen stands here. Why he must breach the sanctuary of the archive's deepest resting places. The memory of his eldest mentor's end is a raw, fresh scar. The wise old archivist, his face a mask of serene concentration before the eye, suddenly crying out, his spirit violently snuffed like a candle in a sharp gale. He dared to peer too deeply through the great sphere, to witness the primal malevolence stirring in the lightless depths, and it had reached back, consuming him through the very conduit of his sight. Then came the second mentor's descent, their form cloaked in resolve as they carried the Order's sacred lantern of lasting echoes into the vault, its light a beacon against the shadows. Their firm steps were the last sound Zelen heard before the door sealed behind them. Now only silence answers his calls. He is the last, the final inheritor of a sacred, impossible duty. The ancient malevolence that is awakened in the lightless depths below is savage, corrupt, and it is eating its way through history, devouring the very essence of those interred, each loss a star extinguished on the eye's surface. The air seeping from the slowly opening vault carries a faint carnal scent, a psychic pressure that makes Zelen's altered eyes ache. His true sight pierces the oppressive gloom beyond, revealing a heavy spiritual darkness that clings to the passage but offers no comfort, no glimpse of his lost kin. The eye-carved vault door finally grinds to an open, revealing a gaping maw which bleeds an even deeper blackness into the purple-lit antechamber. Zelen hands tighten around the worn, cold steel of his flanged mace, his thumb brushing the deeply etched holy symbols of his order, a silent appeal for the fortitude once offered by the lost lantern. With a steady breath that does little to calm the storm within, he steps forward, crossing the threshold from the dying light of the sanctuary into the waiting, hungry darkness of the archive.